Welcome.
Welcome to the Everything Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be recapping Torchwood Reflect, which was released on the 19th of December 2024. And I've already heard my thoughts on Torchwood, A Christmas Card from Mr. Colchester, which is also released on this day. But as I mentioned in that episode, it just seemed quicker to write, well, it was quicker to write the episode that was shorter, and they don't kind of connect at all. So that's kind of why I thought that. And if you want to see the trailer for Torchwood Reflect, check out yesterday's episode. Without further ado, here is my recap for Torchwood Reflect. Something is reciting the lines to Silent Night. We then have the title sequence. Mr. Colchester offers Ace a carrot. Ace reminds Mr. Colchester that it is traditional to leave a carrot out for the reindeer. Mr. Colchester reminds Ace that they work for Torchwood and suggests that Santa is already dead. Mr. Colchester eats the carrot. Mr. Colchester reiterates that it is the festive season, which means it's time for ghost stories. Ace accepts Mr. Colchester's offer of hot chocolate. Ace asks Mr. Colchester about his plans for Christmas Day. Mr. Colchester doesn't believe in forgiveness like his husband does. Mr. Colchester reveals his idea of a perfect Christmas and mentions the Muppets. Mr. Colchester asks Ace about her plans for Christmas. Ace mentions the Doctor and Charles Dickens. Ace reads a ghost story she has wrote called The Haunting of the Natural History Museum. Mr. Colchester laughs at Ace's opening. Ace mentions Queen's Victoria and Oliver Twist. Mr. Colchester interrupts Ace to remind her that this story isn't historically accurate. Ace has inserted herself into the story. Ace remembers going to the Natural History Museum with her mum. Ace agrees with Mr. Colchester's assumption that the Natural History Museum wasn't fully built until nearly 1880. Ace calls herself unnatural. Ace uses accents when performing her story. Ace introduces herself to a woman. Amelia Taunton introduces herself. Amelia works for the Queen. Ace compares Amelia with the Doctor. Ace reminds herself of her current anger towards the Doctor. Ace asks Amelia about the Queen. Amelia and Ace hear something that sounds like the voice that recited Silent Night. Ace mentions the Daleks. Ace expresses her hatred towards haunted houses. Ace and Amelia see an invisible finger. Ace is now suspicious of Amelia. Ace informs Mr. Colchester that this was her first ever ghost hunt. Amelia points an alien gun at Ace. Amelia doesn't know what NASA is. Amelia believes that Ace is from the future. Ace learns that Amelia killed the ghost. Amelia seems to be an original member of Torchwood. Amelia compares Ace with her assistant. Amelia saw a possessed man. Mr. Colchester questions Ace's attempt at Amelia's accent. Amelia killed an alien in cold blood. Amelia knows who the Doctor is. Ace has met people with the same name as Amelia's assistant. The entity reminds Ace that the Doctor won't leave her, and if it kills her, the Doctor will stay. Ace and the Doctor reunite. Mr. Colchester tells Ace that she could never be a coward. Ace mentions Torchwood. Ace finishes her story. Mr. Colchester introduces his story called The Adventure of the Broken Soldier. Ace interrupts Mr. Colchester. Mr. Colchester lists the people he had been spending his nights with. Mr. Colchester leaves this house. Mr. Colchester arrives in Soho. Mr. Colchester mentions the Pet Shop Boys. Ace checks in with Mr. Colchester. Mr. Colchester woke up in St. James's Park on Christmas Eve. Mr. Colchester had unexplained bruises. Mr. Colchester believed he was going to die. Ace correctly guesses the year Mr. Colchester's story took place, as it was the same year she left London. One of Mr. Colchester's superiors discovered Mr. Colchester was gay and didn't punish him, in contrast to what Mr. Colchester was expecting to happen. Mr. Colchester believed nothing mattered. Mr. Colchester is introduced to one of his superiors' partner. Mr. Colchester lists the food and drink being given to him. Mr. Colchester danced with multiple people, including his superior and their partner. Mr. Colchester wakes up with his superior's partner holding him. Mr. Colchester noticed the sunrise. Mr. Colchester noticed a man's muscular shoulders. Mr. Colchester ate his breakfast. Mr. Colchester's superior thought his partner was an angel from heaven. Mr. Colchester wanted a relationship similar to the one his superior and their partner had. Mr. Colchester collapsed in the snow. Mr. Colchester had been with his superior and their partner for an entire week. Mr. Colchester knew something wasn't right. Mr. Colchester entered a pub and noticed everyone was wearing Christmas cracker hats. Mr. Colchester believes he needs to rescue his superior. Mr. Colchester attacked his superior's partner. Mr. Colchester told his superior's partner about the man who could change his face. Mr. Colchester breaks down. Mr. Colchester comforted his superior. Mr. Colchester mentions Torchwood. Mr. Colchester lets himself get upset. Mr. Colchester finishes his story. Ace offers to give Mr. Colchester a hug. Mr. Colchester declines. Ace introduces her other story called The Story of the Cursed Mirror. Ace describes Amelia's diary. Mr. Colchester points out how bad Ace's accent work is. The story involves a policeman reporting a green light. Ace uses Amelia as a comparison when she is not feeling as good as she could be. Amelia's reflection spoke to her. Torchwood is mentioned in this story. Amelia is scared of the future. Amelia agreed with her reflection. Amelia and her team captured an invader. Amelia apologised to her ex-assistant's ghost. One of Amelia's team reveals she is vegetarian. Amelia writes in her diary. Amelia writes about how she feels on Christmas Eve. Amelia asks her team what their Christmas plans are. Amelia reveals she has no plans for Christmas Day. Amelia lets her team finish early on Christmas Eve. Amelia's reflection reminds Amelia that she has no one to spend Christmas with. Amelia and her reflection mention Arthur. Amelia's team had seen Amelia's recent behaviour as suspicious. One of Amelia's team threatened Amelia with a gun. Amelia set for a creature to distract her team. Amelia's reflection explains its actions. Amelia broke the mirror her reflection was in. Amelia hears carol singers. Amelia names Ace. Amelia objects to Ace's accent of her. Ace thanks Mr. Colchester. Ace reveals that Amelia died this Christmas Eve. Mr. Colchester calls Amelia's reflection a sad creature. Ace eats a carrot. Mr. Colchester introduces his other story called The Strange Affair of the Lady in Green. Mr. Colchester asks Ace about telling ghost stories. Ace mentions Stonehenge. Mr. Colchester lists some things we think about around the festive season. Mr. Colchester mentions Twitter. Mr. Colchester discusses a specific Twitter user. Mr. Colchester describes this user's interactions with another user. Some other users noticed someone that the user doesn't see or recognise. This user died after having a heart attack. Mr. Colchester revealed what happened on social media following this user's death. The Lady in Green only appears in selfies. Another person dies the exact same way after the same final tweet. Ace guesses that everyone stopped taking selfies after these incidents. Mr. Colchester corrects Ace. Ace and Mr. Colchester realise the true reason why ghost stories are told at Christmas. Mr. Colchester dismisses Ace's suggestion that people are listening to what they have to say. Mr. Colchester and Ace take selfies at exactly the same time. Mr. Colchester checks in with Ace. Neither Ace or Mr. Colchester can see the Lady in Green. Lady Green appears behind Mr. Colchester and Ace. Mr. Colchester wishes Ace a happy Christmas. Ace and Mr. Colchester's stories are in fact the same story. Ace volunteers to keep an eye on Jane. Ace checks in with Mr. Colchester. Ace gives Mr. Colchester a hug. And the Torchwood Monthly range will return in January 2025 with Yanto's Inferno. That is my recap for Torchwood Reflect. So next time on the Everything podcast, I will be recapping I will be recapping. What am I recapping? What If Season 3 Episode 1, titled What If the Hulk Fought the Mech Avengers. This What If will be a show where I'll show the season trailers. You'll see it 8 times, just because there isn't a purely episode trailer. So I have so far written the first 5 episode the recaps for the first 5 episodes of season 3 of What If, just because there are, and I haven't got to the rest yet. Yeah. So without further ado, here is the trailer for What If Season 3.
For an adventure?
Always.
To understand, you must learn to see.
What exactly are you proposing? It's showtime!
Here we go!
Howard, are you sure you can fly this?
Are you kidding? I'm a duck. I was born to fly. Strap in. If we all go down, the world will be left defenseless. This is the shot we have. We may not get another one. Let's finish it.
Oh, we're good to go.
Avenger, assemble. This is where your story ends. With some mysteries, the only answer is what if.
Maybe it's time that we called in some help?
That was the trailer for What If Season 3, and I will, as I mentioned before the trailer, I will be recapping Season 3 Episode 1 tomorrow. But that's the episode. Let me know what you thought of Torchwood Reflect if you listened to it, my review if you didn't, you can read thoughts on both of those in the comments below, as well with anything else you want to see with the channel, such as any previews or recaps. Put those in the comments below as well. And remember, you can also like, comment and subscribe. And that's it for this episode of the Everything Podcast. Goodbye.